King Hammurabi and the Birth of Law and Justice. King Hammurabi, who reigned from 1792 to 1750 BCE, is perhaps best known for creating one of the earliest and most complete written legal codes in history. His reign marked a golden age for Babylon, a city-state located along the Euphrates River in what is now Iraq. He took the throne in a time of regional chaos, but by his death, Babylon had become the dominant power in Mesopotamia. Hammurabi was not born with the expectation of greatness. He inherited the throne from his father, Sin-Muballit, who had been king of Babylon. At first, Hammurabi faced challenges from rival cities like Larsa, Eshnunna, and Mari. Through a mix of military conquest, diplomacy, and clever alliances, Hammurabi expanded his territory. By the end of his reign, Babylon controlled much of Mesopotamia, from the Persian Gulf to the central parts of modern-day Iraq. Despite his military prowess, Hammurabi is most remembered not for his battles, but for his revolutionary legal reforms. His desire to create a unified society with clear rules for everyone, rich or poor, noble or commoner, became his lasting legacy. Around 1754 BCE, Hammurabi carved his famous set of laws into a large stele, a stone pillar over 7 feet tall, which was placed in a public space for all to see. The Code of Hammurabi is one of the earliest surviving written legal documents in human history. The stele contains 282 laws covering all aspects of Babylonian life, including trade, family, labor, property rights, and even some criminal offenses. These laws were strict and very specific, often giving a sense of proportional justice. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. However, while the laws may seem harsh by modern standards, they were groundbreaking for their time because they sought to establish a standard of justice that was accessible to everyone. The code was designed to protect the weak from the strong, ensuring that a rich landowner couldn't easily take advantage of a poor farmer. For example, if a builder constructed a house that later collapsed and killed the owner's son, the builder would be put to death. But if it only killed a slave, the penalty was less severe, reflecting the social hierarchy of the time. Importantly, the code also set fines as penalties for many offenses, which was a more manageable alternative to corporal punishment. Laws were publicly displayed so that citizens could see them and understand their rights and responsibilities. While Hammurabi's code is often seen as a progressive step toward civil law, it's important to remember that it was rooted in a deeply hierarchical and patriarchal society. Punishments varied greatly depending on one's social status. Nobles, for instance, could often escape severe punishment that would have been meted out to commoners. For instance, if a noble struck a commoner, the noble might face a fine, but if a commoner struck a noble, they might lose a hand or be executed. Nonetheless, the Code of Hammurabi provided a sense of order and predictability in a time when cities and their inhabitants could easily descend into lawlessness. It allowed people to have recourse to a fair, if rigid, justice system. For the first time, legal matters were recorded in writing, making them less subject to the whims of individual rulers or judges. Hammurabi's legitimacy as king was also reinforced by his connection to the gods. The stele begins with a narrative in which Hammurabi receives the laws from Shamash, the sun god and god of justice. This divine sanction gave the laws authority and helped solidify Hammurabi's position as a ruler chosen by the gods to bring justice to the land. The idea that a king was the representative of divine will was central not only in Babylonian society, but across Mesopotamian civilizations. By linking his rule to divine approval, Hammurabi legitimized his authority and made it clear that his laws were not just human decrees, but sacred commands. Hammurabi's reign marks a major turning point in history. Under his rule, Babylon grew into a major political, cultural, and economic hub. He established an efficient administrative system, built impressive architectural structures, and promoted trade, making Babylon one of the most prosperous cities in the ancient world. After his death in 1750 BCE, his empire began to crumble. Successors could not maintain the same level of unity and control. However, Hammurabi's code lived on long after his death. The stele itself was later rediscovered by French archaeologists in 1901. Today, it is housed in the Louvre Museum in Paris, and remains a symbol of one of the earliest attempts to establish a fair and uniform system of justice. King Hammurabi's reign is a fascinating chapter in the history of ancient civilizations. His legal code, while not without its flaws, established a framework for justice that influenced not just Babylonian society, but the entire ancient Near East. Hammurabi's vision of a society governed by clear and public laws continues to resonate today, showing that the pursuit of justice and fairness has been a central theme throughout human history.